everyone, my name is Stephanie from the Pasadena Public Library. Welcome to ArtNight. I am going to show you how to make one of these felt cactus pincushions. So you can use these as a pincushion or just as a decorative item to place on your desk or a bookshelf. I think that they are super cute, and I love the fact that you can put them in a place very low light where you wouldn't normally be able to grow a plant. So I put the template for this pattern in the description below, so you can go ahead and download that and print it out and cut out the shapes that you'll need to make the cactus as well as the flower on top. So to start off, let's go over the materials that you'll need for this project. You'll need 1 to 2 sheets of green felt. The small size can fit on one 9x12 sheet, but the medium will need 2 sheets. You'll also need a sheet of brown felt, 2 small felt scraps for your flower. I used pink and yellow, and then a small terracotta pot approximately 2.5 to 3.5 inches in diameter. You'll also need embroidery floss in your matching green color, embroidery floss in white for the flower, a hand embroidering needle, and 2 ounces of poly-fil for stuffing or other stuffing materials such as small fabric scraps. To pull everything together, you'll also need hot glue or tacky glue and a small scrap of cardboard. Choose either the small or medium-sized cactus, then cut 6 of the cactus shape out of your green felt. You can trace the template onto the felt with pen or chalk. I like to trace and cut out the first piece, then use that felt piece to trace the other 5 pieces. When you're cutting out, be sure to cut inside of where you've marked with pen so you don't have any pen marks on your felt. Embroidery floss always comes as 6 strands that are twisted together. For this project, I'm just going to use 3 strands, so I've separated them out. That way my thread is a little bit less thick. You can use however many strands you'd like to get the thickness that you'd like for your stitches. We're going to start by threading our needle and tying a knot on one end. Our first stitch will be just to anchor our thread. To get the stitch anchored, poke your needle up from the back about 1/4 inch away from the edge. Then place your 2 cactus pieces together. Now pass your needle up from the back and out through the front again, through that same hole. Send your needle under the loop stitch you just made, and this gets your thread anchored so that we're ready to start our first true blanket stitch. To do a blanket stitch, pass your needle from front to the back about 1/8 inch away from your first stitch and about 1/8 inch away from the edge. You always want to be poking your needle in the front of your work and pulling it out the back. Before you pull that loop tight, pass the needle through the loop from the back to the front. Be sure that your needle is in fact through the loop before you pull each stitch tight. Continue with the blanket stitch all the way around the outer edge of the cactus. One faster way of doing the blanket stitch is to make sure that your thread is hanging off the edge of your work. That makes it easier for you to pass your needle through the loop as you pull it tight. Once you've stitched all the way around to the other side, you can tie off the thread, and then you can trim off your thread tail, or you can leave it long so that you can use it to sew up the bottom of the cactus in a later step. Repeat with your other cactus panels until you have 3 pieces. Make a stack with your 3 cactus pieces and pin them together with a couple of pins. Draw a faint line down the center of the cactus from the top center to the bottom center. Stitch down the center line through all layers using a back stitch. To back stitch, You're going to start by threading your needle and tying a knot on one end. Then pass the needle from back to front near the bottom edge. Then pass the needle over the edge and out from the back to the front again, coming up at a small distance above your knot. Continue along your pattern line, but each time you come up from the back, come up a little space ahead, and then bring your needle back down into the same hole at the end of the last stitch you just made. Stuff all 6 compartments with poly-fil or other stuffing material. Use a pen or a chopstick to push the stuffing into each piece. Once stuffed, you can sew up the bottom openings using a quick overhand stitch. Now trace off your 2 flower pieces. I like to use 2 different colors and have one use the larger flower piece and one use the smaller flower piece. To make the flower stamens, wrap the white embroidery thread around your 2 fingers 8 to 12 times. Cut the end of the thread and set that loop aside. Now thread the white embroidery floss onto a needle and knot one end. Place 2 flowers on top of each other and sew the needle up through the center of both flowers. Pass the needle through the thread loop made in the last step. Now sew back down through the center of the flower. Repeat once or twice more until the thread loop is firmly attached at the center of the flower. Then wrap the white thread around the base of the loop 4 to 5 times to create a thread shank. This helps all the stamens stick straight up. Then stitch down through the center of the flower and sew securely to the top of the cactus. Trim off the top of the loop so that the stamens are your desired length. Trace the top of your pot opening onto cardboard. Then cut out a slightly smaller circle. Check to see how well it fits in your pot and adjust as necessary. I prefer to have the cardboard sit about halfway down the pot, but you can have it higher if you prefer. Trace and cut a circle of brown felt that is just slightly larger than the cardboard so that there are no gaps seen. Place extra stuffing at the bottom of the pot if you have it, then glue the cardboard and felt circle into the pot and let dry. Glue the bottom of the cactus to the brown felt and hold firmly for 30 seconds. Allow glue to set completely before you lift it. Alright, so there is the finished pincushion. I did end up filling this one with some decorative pebbles. So you can see this one is a little bit, has a little bit more space around the outside, so it's got enough space. This one was pretty tight, so I didn't need to fill it with any rocks. So I hope you give this project a try and you check out all of the other events that are happening tonight for Art Night. Bye!